Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Student Minds podcast. I'm Melissa. This is Ramazan. And today's topic is on careers and development. Hi, everyone. Our guest today is Emma Gilbert. Hi, Emma.
Hello.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, if that's okay?
Yes, so I work in the career service at Brunel University.
Okay.
So my main role is to work within the employer engagement team. So I'm currently doing two roles. Because why not? So
As you do.
My usual standard role is within the employer engagement team. So I work with lots of different companies to help students get opportunities, basically.
Okay, that's amazing.
Nice.
And that looks like loads of different things, anything from careers fairs, drop-in sessions, talks, opportunities, lots of things. But I'm also currently covering a maternity post as a placement advisor, working with life sciences and social science students, so helping them get their placement for their 1 year or sometimes 6-month placement.
I'm actually curious about this since you mentioned it. The fairs for the careers fairs.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell us a little bit more about that and how it's organized and how you need to get into contact with people, or how exactly does it work?
So like the logistics of creating a careers
Yes,
fair.
yes. I'm very curious.
So a lot of my role is like business development, basically.
Okay.
I'm building those relationships and sort of building rapport with companies so that we have those good relationships for them to be able to say, we want your students.
Yeah, that's
to have
really
these
important, isn't it?
opportunities.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of that as an ongoing process, and then we have to do the logistics like getting a space, getting the tables, doing the promo.
Yeah.
So lots of fun little things that add up to bigger, hopefully, opportunities for students so that they can come along and meet all of these different varied employers who have lots of different opportunities. And then we just hand it over to students. So it's them that need to network and have those conversations and put themselves out there to then try and land those opportunities.
Yeah. And then would you say you're in charge of sort of communicating with these companies to get them to come over to the fairs, or that wouldn't be particularly your role? And
No,
is that someone else?
definitely. So we do a lot of outreach. So that might be conversations, meeting in person, Teams visits we're just reaching out, doing like LinkedIn stalking. Which is always really good, and really good for students to learn to do that as well. And we'll probably come on to like that a little bit later on.
Some advice and stuff for students.
LinkedIn, 100%,
But lots of different communications to sort of build those relationships and get opportunities.
Okay, that's amazing.
Nice.
So since we were talking about this earlier, I thought it was really interesting, but could you tell us a little bit about what you did as a university course?
Yes, so I studied at Brunel a while ago now, so I'm getting on a bit. But I graduated about 11 years ago. I studied theatre out of all things, which is always a little bit different. When I tell people, sometimes it lands a bit like,
You're a theatre kid, okay.
And it's not what I'm doing right now. But I think it's really important to show like the journey you can come in a career path. You don't have to start, that nothing's really defined. I mean, it is a little bit more if you're coming to study like law or medicine. You kind of know what route you want to go down. And of course, you can still change that if you want to. But with theatre, it's a little bit more generic. I did go away and work in a theatre for a year and did like marketing, box office.
Okay.
Which is quite repetitive, and it didn't feel right for me. I felt like I wasn't using the skills that I could.
I see. Interesting.
And then a role came up here, and then I came back, and I haven't left since. So I'm coming into my 10th year here now.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I thought it was interesting to mention because I know a lot of people are worried about what qualifications they need for jobs, or, oh, well, I did something artistic for my degree. Can I still apply for jobs that aren't necessarily artistic, or they do have artistic skills because obviously the promotion stuff, or obviously with theater, the communication aspect helps a lot with talking to people. But a lot of people are worried about whether they can actually get jobs with this degree. So that's why I was curious about what you think about it and everything.
Yeah, I think in general, no matter what you're studying, if you want to apply for things outside of that scope, transferable skills are key, and that's something you should really focus on when you're applying for things. So I think, I wouldn't pigeonhole any role to yourself. And for the likes of me, I also drew on what I've done before then. So I worked in retail for a long time. And, you get lots of transferable skills for that as well. So just being mindful of what they're asking for. And I work with loads of organisations that don't cap what course it is. They're open to everyone applying, and it's just being aware of that. Being
I think the thing that they're after a lot of the times is this idea that like when you get a degree, especially those higher grades or marks, it shows that you've put in that work over the extended period of time and hit certain milestones and obviously shown different skills in order to be able to do that. And that's what they're after. It's not just the title on the degree. It's more that you've done that degree and spend that time.
And any like other relevant experience that you're doing. So you're also studying, and then if you're working in societies or even volunteering, you can show that you've got really good time management because you're able to balance both of those. And if you've come out with a great degree, you've obviously done it very well. So there are lots of things to talk about. And when it comes to interviewing, being able to talk about that and showcase yourself is also really important.
So I actually have two questions. One of them is about being overqualified, which is something that a lot of people, I think, struggle with, where it's like they apply for a job, but then because their qualification for some reason makes the employer feel like they're overqualified, they can't get the job. Or what do you think about that?
Yep. So I think this is common, and I think especially for students that are on postgrad courses, or those even like international students, they come with a lot of experience a lot of the time. And it comes down to the importance of tailoring your application. So looking at what they're asking for, and your CV or your application hasn't got to be your whole work history. You've got to say that document is how you meet that specific job criteria.
Okay.
You don't have to give everything. You don't have to give everything. So it's not like you're lying. It's just you're putting what's relevant.
I see. Okay. So basically making the CV kind of tailored to the job that you're applying for and kind of targeting it to. Okay, really that makes sense. And then...
just a quick point. I think, I don't know how other students have utilized the PDC. So I don't know what that stands for, but Professional Development Center. I've met a lot of, so Samantha as well as Maria. I think you've replaced Maria, but... They and also Stefania as well for the sports kind of side of things. I've met them so many times, and they've given me so many amazing kind of advice of like specifically, like you say, tailoring your applications to certain roles and the importance of doing that. And it is really key. And I think it's good, like that's why you need to make the most of the PDC as well. So if you are a Brunel student in the system, make sure you use us because you have access to support one-to-one free of charge throughout your whole Brunel journey and 3 years after. And the team are so dedicated and they want the best for students. So definitely book appointments if you need any careers help, even if it's just thinking about ideas. Or if you're applying for something, just for that support, they're all great, and a lot of them come with industry knowledge and experience. So
because I feel like a lot of people when they apply to things, they kind of feel like, this is so overwhelming, and I have to do everything by myself. And like, you don't have to do everything by yourself. There are people who are trained to help you with this, and you should use that resource.
To your advantage,
definitely.
And then my second question was on getting experience, because this is something that so many people have complained to me about, so many of my friends and like just students in general, who just go, this job, they say they're okay with people who are still studying, but they want this, I don't know, big amount of experience that I can't possibly have. How do I go about it, basically? So,
experience is key, and you can get that in a variety of different ways. So
that would be good to talk about kind of how people can get that sort of experience.
So I think it's also not limiting yourself to what experience can be and what you're putting down. So for example, I help students with placement, and some of them haven't done any work, but they've done relevant things when they were in sixth form even, or even the work that you're doing on your course. So I work a lot with psychology students. If they want to do like a research assistant based role, they're like, I don't have any direct experience. I'm like, okay, talk me through what modules you're doing. And then they're doing like their qualitative and quantitative modules. And I'm like, so you can talk about what you've learned on that, what different software and tools
and the
that you're using.
statistics and Jamovi and SPSS.
They're all key things. So I don't understand any of those really, but I know like of them. For me to do it, I couldn't. But they obviously do.
No,
and it's just making sure that they, you forget sometimes that, because it's uni work, that it's not relevant, but they're key skills and knowledge that
100%.
can be put down.
Yeah, so, a lot of companies are after your ability to kind of work on those softwares and do those kind of
Excel even, like stuff like that. Because I also had this for my dissertation where most of my research was in the lab.
Yeah.
So now when I apply to things or like masters or jobs and everything, I can actually apply to research roles in labs because I can be like, okay, I know how to do ELISA, I know how to do qPCR, I know how to do all these things.
Yeah.
Because I did it for my dissertation, so I know I have these lab skills now, and it's like crazy because I'm like, wow, I have lab skills, that's crazy.
And even something like working in a team project or presenting, like you're having 100%. Communication skills, teamwork, collaborative skills, so many things. And then the importance of things like volunteering, even though it's unpaid. We have the volunteers team. They've always got roles. Yeah. And some of it's super relevant, even if it's a few hours a week or over the month. It's all stuff that you can put on your CV. There's also virtual online experience, which Brunel students have access for free to Forage, where you can go on and do virtual work experience, which you can also put on your CV as sort of like a learning experience. And they are like actual modules and you have to submit a brief. So you're actually doing building skills and awareness, and they're things that you can include on your CV. So thinking outside the box a little bit if you're finding it hard to gain like paid experience, and also being open-minded to unpaid if it's possible.
Yeah. And just a quick point about the volunteering thing. So I'm a second year student, or finished second year now, going into my third year. In terms of
good luck.
Thank you. I'm going to need it. So in terms of volunteering, the amazing thing is some of those roles, you get some amazing training as you go into those places, because obviously you're spending that time and you're spending time that you could be studying or whatever. But so those companies are like, they give you opportunities to go on these courses that develop your communication skills, your, again, teamwork and whatever skills that you're after. So depending on the role that you go, I think it's,
And you can even look ahead. So also, what I should mention is placement. If you want experience and you can do a 1-year placement, then you're gonna have a whole year's worth of experience before you leave university.
So just a bit about, I guess, future planning. So we talked about like making sure that you, pick certain roles, whether it's volunteering or working extra on the side and things.
Yeah.
So why do you think it's important to do that future planning in line, like in stepping towards kind of adulthood and moving on from university?
Yeah. So I think it's good to think, even in first year, you need to think about when you graduate, because
100%.
And I think it's hard to do that as a student because you're coming into a new place, you're meeting new people, you're like kind of just getting figured out, and you have like, it's a little bit overwhelming sometimes to jump from like schooling and a college through to university. But overall, most people come to university because there's different reasons. You might just want to come because you want to make friends and party a bit. But most of the time, some of those things are that you want to have a good career progression or a nice paying job at the end of it, or just like better your knowledge. And to be able to put that into practice, you need to have a bit of an idea for when you graduate. And you don't need to know what you want to do, but just be mindful that it's going to be really competitive the other end. So making sure you are building that experience bit by bit is really important. And there are schemes in place. So there's the Brunel Summer Internship Programme, which is open to first-year students from different backgrounds. You have to meet a criteria, but basically that helps you get your foot in the door for work experience paid across the summer. And if you can't access that, then there's, just doing it a little bit by bit so that it's not as competitive at the other end. You've got things to talk about.
I wish I knew about all this stuff when I was first. I didn't know about any of this.
I actually did that over the summer. Yeah.
Oh, is that the other podcast you did?
That was the other podcast. So just a little note, I guess it was with Pick Up the Mic. I don't know if you've ever come across it. So it's Jeffrey. He was an amazing kind of individual that's doing so many amazing things and working with different organizations to provide that help in terms of moving on from university, even university itself. But so for me, what I got out of it, it's a lot to do with so I wanted to get into podcasting, and me doing this was as a result of working with him and learning those different skills, like all this setting up and things like that. I would never have been able to do any of this, but with his help, it was,
So if you hadn't had that experience, you wouldn't have lived
been here.
No.
Yeah.
And that's
crazy.
When I was a student, I didn't have to do placement, but I had to do some sort of work experience. And if I didn't proactively get my work experience, I don't think I would have ended up where I am now, because it has a knock-on effect of like, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have met this person, or I wouldn't have thought about this avenue. So exploring different ideas and ways to build your experience is important, just for the potential outcomes, like the example you just gave.
I have a question about placement, actually, if that's okay. Because maybe this is a bit of a cultural difference, because I didn't grow up in the UK. But placement, I'm from Romania, by the way. Placement wasn't really a thing for us, or like in other European degrees and stuff like that. Like I know my sister-in-law, for example, she didn't do placement and stuff like that. And I'm just wondering about how come it's such a big thing here, or how is it beneficial, or what's like how does it work exactly? Because I'm just curious about it. It just wasn't a thing for us. So
I think so. Brunel was actually, back in the day, one of the first universities to really go full steam with placements.
I've heard about this, actually.
Yeah. So it's kind of been something they've championed from the very beginning, and one of sort of the people in the forefront for offering that, and has continued to do so. When I was here on my course, which was an arts program, the placement wasn't an option, but I believe now most courses do offer placement. Not that everyone takes it up, but I think one of those reasons is because graduate recruitment has got very competitive.
I see, yeah.
It's also a great way to get industry experience, and I think what you learn on a course and putting that into action is somewhat different, and being in like the real world and up to date in that. So sometimes there might be a little lag of what's being taught and between what goes on in the real world, and everyone's obviously trying to make sure that there isn't that gap, but sometimes there is. So having that opportunity to go out and be on placement, to have real world experience, is just going to open your mind to different career avenues. So you might decide, I want to do placement in this area, and then actually it was not for me, and I want to do something completely different. Or you might end up going into, I know there's a lot of HR based roles that we kind of say to psychology students, this could work, and they're like, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to be a clinical psychologist. But they do it anyway, and then they're like, do you know what, I want to work in HR now. So it gives you that choice as well. But I think overall it's getting that hands-on experience and being in industry and networking, meeting new people, you make contacts.
Yeah, because I also wanted to mention this, that it's so hard to tell what you like to do for work until you actually work. Because I had this with, like, for example, science jobs, where it just felt so overwhelming. I felt like, I don't know, there are so many jobs. What do I pick? But also I don't know what jobs there are, but also I don't understand what I would actually like to do. And then actually getting that experience and sort of actually doing it, you can tell if you like it or not, at least, and you can know, okay, this isn't for me. I tried it. It's not for me. I definitely want to do this other thing. Or you can open up an avenue to, I actually really like this thing and I want to do it. I also think what's really helpful with placements in the UK as well is that, like, a lot of them are actually like paid, which internships in other countries and stuff as well aren't actually paid. Like you work there, but it's more like a sort of volunteering sort of thing. Although they are internships, but I think it's useful for people who need jobs as well, and they need to sort of like,
a lot are unpaid as well still. It depends what industry. So some students are getting paid more than me, depending on what they're doing. That's like, well done on landing that for a placement role, And some students are happy to go out there and do unpaid, especially if it's within like the NHS or the creative industry sometimes. Sometimes it is, but a lot of the time it isn't. There's just different industries. But if you can land a paid placement, well done.
That's amazing. No, I think a little important point there as well is that those paid placements as well, they're really competitive. And I think it's a real good practice in terms of your applications to those things. Yeah, for jobs. So when you're graduating, it's going to be competitive, even more so than what you had in placement. So when you're making the application, it doesn't have to be in the view that you're going to do this 100%, but just to kind of go through those processes and go into that interview. Maybe for a lot of people will be the first interview that they've had as well. and it's good practice for the real kind of real thing coming.
And
in the future.
that's a really good conversation to have as well, because so many people get like rejections, which can be really demotivating. And some students just like, you know what, I've tried now and I'm done. I'm like over the process. I'm like, this is part of the process. And it's only going to be worse when you have like, so placement is optional. Ideally you want a role when you leave through now. You want to go into a graduate career, so you're going to have to go through the process at some point. And if you can like hone in and like get those skills and practice early done on, now, it's really good. And facing rejection, unfortunately, is part of that. It's just finding the momentum to keep going, which is also hard alongside doing your studies and final deadlines and preparing for exams at the same time.
This was something I wanted to ask, actually. With people, a lot of the times get rejected in jobs because of certain small things, such as like little gaps in their CVs or stuff like that. Like, is there something you could maybe give some advice for other students who are applying and getting rejected without even getting an interview for sort of like CVs, for example? I know a lot of people who something about their CV just doesn't work, or LinkedIn. We need to talk about LinkedIn because so many students don't actually have LinkedIn or know how it works properly and how useful it actually is and how many people use it. So,
Okay, so a couple of things there. With your CV and sort of facing rejection, first of all, make sure you use the PDC because that's there to help. That can be really minor things. So large organizations use automated software, like basically AI, that screens for certain things. It's more common nowadays that people really want fancy CVs that look lovely and they've got like boxes down the side and the formatting sort of fancy, but sometimes that can put off these systems. And because there's like columns that are like going down rather than it reading across, it will reject you because the software can't actually read what's been put on.
In
the boxes.
That's if that organization uses that software. Normally larger organizations do. So it could be as simple as that, like what you've put in content-wise is fine, but if they're screening loads of people, they'll run it through this software and then they're like, no, it hasn't like the format. So just being mindful of that. It might look nice, but
that's so interesting.
If someone's screening it first, not someone, like a robot, then that might be one of those reasons. If there's gaps in your CV, like you mentioned, there might be a way to explain that. So if you are doing a cover letter or an application, it might be good I would suggest mentioning it in the right way. So say you might have just taken a year out studying and gone traveling between sort of coming to university, and that's really simple to explain. Or if you haven't put grades or your grades weren't great, as long as you've got something to support that or the reasonings behind it and you're happy to disclose that, then I would have that conversation and put it in maybe in your cover letter. Because it gives you that extra chance of it not being decline.
So you think it's worth actually mentioning the gaps, but in a good way?
I think so. I think it can be done in the right way. Again, the career service is there to support if you are struggling with how to do that. And if you're not sure, speaking with them about the pros and cons of approaching that.
And the question she had about the LinkedIn. So
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
It's so important. So I think most people are on that now. I think it's even bigger than sort of some social medias searching for work. There is such a massive hidden job market as well.
Yes, 100%.
And you can use LinkedIn for speculative applications and approaching people, networking, making contacts. So making sure, it's not like a CV because it's not a static, like it's not a document that's not going to change. You can update it all the time. You can add new things. You can really put your personality across based on like your background.
Yeah, that's something I quite like.
Yeah, and it's good to really show your personality because you can't really do that in a CV. A cover letter a bit more because you can, your language that's being used. But making sure you make the most of LinkedIn because people also check that when they are recruiting. So if you have it doesn't match just social media in general. So if you have like your Instagram or your Facebook, if people still use, I don't know what
some people,
or TikTok even, I don't know. I use Instagram a little bit.
Same.
But so just making sure if it isn't private, then what are you displaying about yourself? Because you might not want your employer to see you like in your bikini on a beach, or like partying and doing stuff. So
maybe don't put your Instagram.
Be mindful that they will probably check there. And if you don't want to delete things, just make it private.
Just make it private, yeah 100%. Or have a lot of people have 2 accounts as well, where they sort of have like a professional one and then one that's private for friends and everything. But with LinkedIn also, since we're on the subject, what I like is how the communication aspect kind of goes, of how you can reach out to people and also how you can find out about jobs. Because since I got LinkedIn, I get so many emails about potential jobs that I can apply for that I feel like makes the work of finding work so much easier, because you're not just grabbing everything you can, you get me? It's not like, oh yeah, I can't find any jobs. There are loads of jobs and there's loads of people who are looking for people. And it's just such a good network, I think. And yes, again, the communication aspect of just how you reach out to people and how you talk. It is professional, but it also feels a little bit more personal than simply a CV, which I quite like, because and then just you can actually have a conversation with people as well about the jobs and everything, which is really nice. So yes, guys, get LinkedIn, please.
So just to ask a bit about in terms of that future planning. So what's your advice on students kind of setting goals to develop certain skills throughout first, second and third year?
Can I just add something to that?
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you're, especially in first year, you're just so confused about the amount of possibilities of everything. And I think it's really hard to put into perspective of what goals to set, because it's just like, I don't even know where I'm going kind of thing. So if you could also go a little bit into that, or your experiences with students who've dealt with that, if that's okay. And
Okay, I would say like personally, when I was in first year, I didn't even know like placement existed. Like I didn't know the timelines. Like I had no family that had been to university before, so I didn't really have that experience. So I think firstly, as I was saying earlier, think ahead and try and find out as much as possible about what schemes are out there. And then it depends. It's personal preference. Some people might want to have like a whole plan for the 3-4 years they're here, or breaking that down with like a larger goal in mind. And then managing your time well so that you can get some of those aspects in. And there's different tools and techniques you can do to do that. But I think first of all, thinking about, and it can change, but thinking about that ideal end destination. And it might not be a specific role. It might be, say you're coming in and you want to be a lawyer. That will be your end goal, and you can kind of work backwards to see how you want to get there. And it might be looking on LinkedIn and seeing people's profiles that are successful and looking at their history and what they've done, and seeing how you can not follow that, but maybe embedding some of the steps that they've taken to get there. And that will be doing well in your studies and making sure that you are applying yourselves and not just thinking about the work experience as well. But breaking it down to different times of year even, because you're going to know when you have busier times leading up to exams, also when you're going to have time to potentially focus on career stuff, and just breaking it down a little bit. If you don't have a clear career trajectory, then maybe thinking about your personal values and what you want to take through as
that's a nice idea.
Because how you feel and how you connect to what you want to do in the long run is also really important. So it might be just thinking about right now in my first year or second year, what I'm really enjoying about my course is being pushed and learning new things, and growth and development is actually a value of mine. So I want to make sure I'm doing that in my everyday to-day job. Or you might say something like, my value is connection and I love being around different people, meeting new people. I love doing that in my job right now, as an example. So it might just be, and you might understand that through like meeting loads of new people, through different societies when you're at university, or just different people from different courses. And that might be something you want to be like, right, I want to take that through in my job when I leave here. I want to work with different organisations. I want to be able to put myself out there and network a lot. Or that just might be something you want to embed in order to help you get to where you want to be. So just thinking a bit about stuff that aligns with yourself right now and how you can pull that through if you don't know what your final destination is, and transferable skills. So what you're picking up, what you're enjoying, what you feel like you want to develop. Thinking a little bit outside the box, basically.
I think also it's worth thinking about whether you're like an introvert and an extrovert, because I know you can't tell, but I'm an introvert. So I kind of like get really exhausted by social interactions. And then I think I'm really aspiring for jobs where I can just put headphones on and work, you know, just do my own thing, get loads of tasks and do loads of work, but just in my own space, you know, that sort of thing. Like, obviously, I think being able to work in a team is important for everyone. And I think everyone should have that. But I think it's definitely worth considering, is this going to exhaust me? Is this going to be horrible for me? Just working, like, constantly socializing or constantly, you know what I'm saying? Because that you want to find a job that works with exactly like what you said, with how you are as a person naturally as well, I think, because otherwise you're just going to hate your job. And
I mean, it's good to have sort of to fit with that, but also don't like not push yourself.
That's true, 100%.
And just that might just be as easy as reflecting on, like, say you were, as an example, like you've just said, you want to just put your headphones on and you want to get on with work, because that's obviously what works for you. But thinking like, what am I avoiding by like putting myself in that little bubble?
100%.
Am I avoiding doing something that's like pushing me outside my comfort zone?
That's true.
Which might lead to some growth. Or not. And that might be like, I don't want to do that, and that's fine. But just reflecting on it a little bit more to see if it's a positive push.
I mean, this is definitely a positive push, because I feel like usually I dread social interaction. But then I feel like because all these conversations are so fun to have, because it's just so interesting. Like, there's loads of these topics that we're trying to cover are things I'm actually really interested in, because they're interesting and I think relevant to us as students, or just to everyone, to be honest. And I don't know, I just find that everyone's work so interesting. So this is really fun, actually. But yeah, guys, you should try and get out of your comfort zone if you can. At least try it. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you.
Yeah, and that, like, university is a good time to experiment that. Not only the different like jobs, but like how much you can like push yourself. And experiment is good.
Nice.
100%.